This is a clip from the Cannon podcast. To hear the full episode and get access to exclusive benefits, head over to patreon.com/thecannonpod and sign up for just £3 a month.
A bit of a negative, again, 8 seconds in and we 1-0 down. Obviously, Bukat's like a little mistake. Ramsdale maybe could have saved it or not. But there is a growing concern that the Arsenal home defence isn't as good as the away defence. And it's factored in terms of XG conceded and in terms of clean sheets, Arsenal aren't as good. And I think if you want to win a title, I think that has to improve. So let's talk about ways of solutions to fix this defence, George. At home especially, what do you think is going wrong for Arsenal and how do you think, Mikel Arteta, what do you think needs to change to fix that?
I think generally when you look at kind of the Emirates and who comes to the Emirates, you have to say that there's more propensity for a low block. That's one thing that you're going to see. And I think teams have started, you can't deny that they've tried to start quick against Arsenal at home, because they don't want Arsenal to get into the game. And if you allow a certain tempo to get into the game, then Arsenal dominate. And I think that it's less about an individual responsibility, but more of a collective intensity, in my opinion. So the big thing for me is...
Who's fucking over there?
Yeah, we got a
Doug
little...
wants to have his opinion.
Win. I've got Win in the back. He's gonna attack the new one. Essentially, the big thing for me is not so much assigning an individual responsibility. It's more of a collective intensity that I think that the team is lacking, and a defensive kind of resoluteness, because in general, transitions for me have been an issue since the beginning of January. And then broadly, when I start to look at it in terms of goals conceded, I don't think that we start or end halves well. So it's not even just a case of, for me, starting games, but I think it's just even at the start of second halves last season, we conceded quite a few goals. And so when I look at trying to stop those issues, I think that we need to increase kind of our possession. But I don't think Mikel is going out there, for example, and I'm going to be honest here, saying, listen, lads, be very vertical at this point in the game and then be safe at this point in the game. I do feel that there needs to be a little bit more intensity in the way that we approach our possession, both in terms of build-up, but also in terms of defending. And I think that just means meeting your marker aggressively, making sure that those rotations are ironed out, because I don't believe that Thomas Partey covered himself in glory for the goal. And in fact, I blame him a lot more than I do Bukayo Saka or Ramsdale, because for me, a pass back at the halfway line shouldn't result in a goal. And it's these type of things that we're seeing quite a bit, or a long switch out to the wings where someone's breaking 1v1. That shouldn't happen, right? There's a structural issue there when those things happen. And I struggle to say that it's a particular maybe person that's doing it. I don't see somebody out proportionally making a mistake than others. I just think it's a collective lack of tempo. And that could be aggressively meeting a marker. That could be even in the way that we build out from the back, for example. I think actually, ironically, in this game, we did such a good job about switching play quickly, even despite the early goal. But, it's clear to see that this is inexcusable. The Tomiyasu back pass of last season, fans get frustrated at this, and I understand why. I don't think that it's a simple of, hey guys, stop doing it kind of mentality. I think it's just a collective intensity and being in the game, because I do think there's a level of complacency that this team has at home, and not because it's coming from up top, but just because part of being good is recognizing that, there's going to be inferior opposition, but you can't rely on your skill. You have to make sure that you go out there and do the job. And I do think there's a level of complacency when we keep facing low blocks and teams that are setting up negatively against us at the Emirates, that almost lulls us into a false sense of security. And I don't like how we close out halves and we start halves in general, because we could even go to the goal, mate. It's not just conceding off the bat, but conceding against 10-man Fulham. We can have a discussion. I don't like that we sit in a block against a 10-man Fulham, but even broadly, there's no reason that if you're going to employ that tactic, why is Mikel Arteta not putting on your best box defender in Gabriel, who could also help in offensive set pieces? So yeah, it's just a collective responsibility for me in increasing our intensity and focus.
So in terms of that back four, then, as you said, Gabriel didn't start that game, and there's more rumours growing, and fans are thinking, oh, he's gone now, he's leaving for sure, he's done, he's over. I was speaking to someone at the ground today, and he was like, oh, he's going, he's done. I'm like, no, relax. So Alex, talk to me about this back four, then, with no Yuri and Timber until God knows when. What is the best Arsenal back four? in terms of just keeping a solid back four, keeping the clean sheets and helping Arsenal have that base to build off? Is it Zinchenko back into the team with Gabriel? Does Kivior start for you? Ben White and Saliba surely do start as well. Ramsdale, Raya now, potentially in goal. So what changes would you make and what would be your back four, back five?
It's not a very easy thing to countenance as a coach, because it all depends on what you're trying to do, what spaces you're trying to access in the build-up, what you're trying to do in terms of playing out, and then coming to those conclusions. I think is really hard, and I think people want to go. It's simple. Just put this back four in, and that will work. It's like it's not that simple. Against Manchester United, they're going to press in a different way compared to Fulham. So, what kind of spaces are you trying to access, and whatever, and that's the club's job to do. We can't sit here as analysts, online, and fans really, as primarily, and say, oh, the club should be doing this, that, and the other. That's their job to do. What we can do is look at what is working and what isn't. At the moment, and the information that we have, because we don't have all the information that we have is we're looking at that game against Fulham, and I'm saying that there is a massive right-sided bias that has to be fixed. I'm seeing we're unable to access central zones. I'm seeing us really finding it difficult to progress down the left-hand side. And then I'm saying, okay, so I want to fix those things. When obviously the natural conclusion is to go, what worked last time? And go back to the whole Zinchenko, Partey, Saliba, White, Gabriel, Ramsdale thing, because we know that worked. But that doesn't necessarily have to be it. Personally, I would go back to that just to stabilise the team for a little bit, because I think it's important. But do I believe there's a level beyond that? Especially when Jurriën Timber comes back, yes. But do I believe there's a level beyond that where we can move to without having those defensive frailties from Zinchenko? Possibly having a little bit more on-ball quality without Gabriel in the team? Yes. And then that's a question. But honestly, I think that might need to come with a significant sale or a significant purchase, especially on the left-hand side. I don't know what that is, but I don't think it'll be this summer, because I think Jurriën Timber was that guy. I think that might be next summer. As I say, in terms of going into Manchester United, I would go with that Ramsdale, White, Saliba, Gabriel, Zinchenko thing. I think that works. It allows us, qualities, but we know that over a season that has flaws. And I think what we attempted to do with the Timber purchase is to make them non-existent. And with the Kivior purchase as well. Make us able to adapt, make us able to come out in different ways and access different zones and build up in different ways down the left, down the right, whatever, in whatever capacity, and not have to be so reliant on one thing. Now, we've been hamstrung slightly, and we've had to use Partey at right back, and I think people forget that is not his first choice. I've been critical of Partey at right back. It's not what I want, but also I accept that it isn't Mikel Arteta's first choice. We just have to adapt now. Yeah, it's not a simple answer, and I wish it was. But whatever we see, I suppose the one takeaway would be whatever we see at 3:30 on Sunday, when we all open our phones and look at the lineups, let's just wait and see it on the pitch. Because also, it's not only personnel, it's instruction. Kivior, in my opinion, the team should give him more responsibility. I think he's not being passed to enough. So as much as there are progression issues, I think they're not giving the ball to Kivior enough. So it might well be we see the exact same team, just with different instructions. Do we see Partey dropping out into the back line with White supporting him? Do we see Kivior giving more on-ball responsibility? Whatever it is, I'm not going to panic until I see it on the pitch. If we see the same problems, that is a problem. But also, instruction can happen too. So we'll see, and then it's up to the coaches.
Thanks for checking out the Cannon Podcast. To get full episodes and access to exclusive benefits, head over to patreon.com/thecannonpod and sign up for just £3 a month.